Just need to point out while doing this video that basically I am not held liable or responsible for any injury to yourself or damage to your vehicle by following this video guide. Hi guys, PJ here. Today I'm working on a 2018 BMW 3 Series GT, the coupe version. I'm going to basically show you how to wear a dash cam, this particular one being the mirror version, which clips over your mirror and basically converts your mirror into a camera inside the image area. But I'm going to show you how to wire this to the vehicle's fuse box using a fitting kit so that it goes on and off with the ignition of the vehicle, rather than having a cable dangling down to your cigarette lighter socket, or the fact that you've got to manually switch it on and off, which is a bit of an inconvenience. So first of all, for your camera you're going to need obviously a memory card. Get hold of one of those. Make sure your memory card is the right speed for your camera. If you're buying a 4K camera, you're going to need an enhanced memory card. This one being a normal spec one, and will work on 1080p, 1440p and obviously the lower 720p cameras. If you've got a 4K one, such as a 612 next base, you are going to need a better memory card than this, a high speed one. Just bear that in mind. So, quickly moving on to this, which is a normal speed camera, so normal memory card, look, 1080p, there we go. Fitting kit. This is so you can hardwire it to the vehicle's fuse box and contains everything you will need. A replacement power cable, mini USB on the end of this one there to plug into the camera, and quite simply terminates in an earth connection, which can be grounded to the vehicle chassis, and a power connection. In this kit also comes a ferrite filter for DAB radio interference. These have limited success, so bear that in mind. You may get interference on your DAB radio. Some cars do, some don't. These are on a hinge and clips. Basically you open them up, so you clip them open, they open up, and you put your cable through it, round it and out. I'll show you what I mean shortly with that. And you also get two fuse spurs. Now these are so you don't have to do any soldering or wiring or anything like that, damaging the vehicle in any way. So if you've got a lease vehicle, you can plug these in and you're not going to cause any problems to the vehicle at all. It can be very, very quickly reversed. Just quickly, I'm sorry about the background noise here today, but unfortunately I do not get to choose the location of where these jobs are done. Right, on your BMW, you're not going to need this larger fuse. These are for normally commercial vehicles nowadays, or older vehicles, so put that to one side. This is a mini blade fuse spur, and you'll notice it comes with a 2 or 3 amp fuse in there to run the camera, and then there's a spare socket at the side. Now what that's for, when you figured out which fuse in your fuse box is an accessory position fuse, which I'll show you how to do shortly, when you pull that fuse out of the fuse box, you pop it in here, and then you pop this in where the fuse came from, sort of making the socket into a doubler, so it can supply power to the camera, because this connects to this. On the BMW, this is the fun bit, your fuse box is in the boot. Lift up and remove your boot floor. Yeah, take it out of the way, and then you've got this flap on most of them. There's your fuse box. Get yourself some power cable. I've made it blue cable. Red wasn't showing up very well on the camera for some really weird reason, so you can see blue quite well there. Tuck it in and under. Fold your seat down. Obviously if you're running a saloon car, it's a lot more tedious to get the cable up. I normally go up top corner here on a saloon and then down, but it is very fiddly. So run your cable up, under there, across your seat. So now looking from inside the vehicle at the rear seat area, we've come out here, because you can lift all this up, look, there's your cable, look, just there. And run it underneath here, down here, tuck it down, and then tuck it up and under the seat. So it comes out here, look, yeah, your cable's coming out here, there's a hinge here, so you want to go under it here. And then tuck it down behind the seat belt, down here, right out the way, down behind the seat belt, all the way down here. Again, you can get right in there, shove your cable down. This one's gone down quite far, it's nicely tucked out the way. Follow it down under here. This lifts up to a degree, you can actually lift it. Can't see my cable, it's quite well tucked under. Again, under here, you can get your fingers under it, look, lift it a bit, tuck it under, all the way along, behind the seat belt, all the way to the front. Now at the front of the vehicle with the driver's door open, tucked it up under here until you get to the footwell. You get to the footwell, you can normally just pull this rubber seal, do it carefully, you don't want to damage it, like so. So the cable's gone up under here, popped out here for your power cable. We'll leave that resting in the footwell for now, and we'll get the actual fitting kit, the wiring kit that comes with it, down the side here to that. Right, now we're going to prepare the cable for use in the vehicle. I mean, you don't have to do these steps, but it does make life a little easier, and you'll see why. Just straighten your cable out to, a decent length for the USB side of it, and measure it up across the top of the window screen so you know roughly how long you're going to need it to be. So, when you've done that, get yourself 2 or 3 cable ties, like so, and all we're going to do is this. Wrap them around your cable, snip the end off. Now you'll know when you do that on a cable tie, sometimes they can be sort of quite sharp on the end here. Now your headlining is made of like a fibre or a card material wrapped in a fabric. Over time, in theory, I suppose this could rub and make a mess of the inside of the headlining. So just to be doubly safe, what I normally do is just wrap them in a bit of electrical tape, just to pad them out a tad. It may be going over the top, but I've always done it over the years and it seems to work. The reason we put the cable ties around the cable is to make them a bit thicker, a bit chunkier. So when you tuck them up above the headlining, if you hit a big pothole or something, the cable's not going to come dangling down in front of your view while you're driving along. It sort of makes sense, let's face it, you don't want that to be happening. And this is just to make it a bit chunkier so it stays up there, and it's like a little grip, if anything, for it. Next up, if we go to the USB end, I'll show you how to fit the ferrite filter. Like I was saying earlier, it's on little clips. Get that in view there for you. Just pop the clips open. You normally just click them open. It's on a hinge. Open it up, lie it flat, and then get hold of your cable. Wrap it around it, under it, and over it. So it goes all the way through like that. Then click it shut. So when it's closed, it looks like that. And that's your ferrite filter done. That's on. You can now move along to popping your cable up at the top of the window screen. And when you're putting your cable at the top of the window screen, you can normally get your fingers under it. Yeah, there's normally enough gap. Just bear in mind it is, like I say, a cardboard fibre. Don't go at it like a bull in a china shop. You will hear it make a bit of a creaky noise. Don't worry about that too much. Just don't make any crease marks in it. Tuck your cable up, shut your cable ties up, and then obviously feed it round, up, there we go, up and under, out of the way until it's in the right location. Follow it across to the end here, so we get to this corner here. Now ideally, to do this job, you're going to need a plastic leverage tool, something like this. These are normally made by a company called Bojo or Vibe Audio make them. Quite a lot of different manufacturers, to tell you the truth. You get them off eBay, Amazon. Most of the local car shops in your area probably sell the Vibe ones, such as these. So get yourself some of these. You don't want to be levering plastic surfaces with a metal screwdriver. You will definitely put little dents in it and make a right mess of the trim. We don't want that. This has got to look factory fitted without any damage, any marks or any cable showing. So get one of these or get something very similar to it. And what we're going to use that for is the end cap on the dash. Open your door. This cap here, I'm going to remove this cap basically by inserting the tool in and pop, like so. Now, I am just going to have to quickly use both hands because it's incredibly windy here today in wonderful England, and this door's going to try and shut on me. So I'm just going to pop the cap off, you just pull it away and I'll show you the clips. So there we go, rubber trim moved out of the way, just pull it off from where you moved it down here. Grab hold of this, carefully, there can be a bit of a sod sometimes to get free, quite a tight area, there we go. Take that out of the way, put that safely away. This gives you access to two things, A, to run the cable down, and B, these nuts here are an ideal earthing point. You can either remove one of these 13mm nuts and put your earth cable behind it, or do what I do and get another nut screwed over the top of it. I'll show you what I mean when I've done it. I'll place it on and explain it to you. Way up, so we can get behind the actual trim there, the actual door window screen trim. Behind the window screen trim is your airbag that goes up over the roof area. It's a curtain airbag. So we're going to go behind it. It terminates here, which is sort of halfway down. Maybe you can quite see that. There we go. So go behind the airbag with your cable, just tuck it easily behind. It's not a difficult thing to do. You just sort of tuck it over, down and behind, and then run all the way down to the pillar with your cable, like so. Sorry if the camera view's a bit off, guys. It's really awkward one-handed when there's a hurricane wind happening, but there we go. So all the way down to the end of the dashboard area. Back inside the car quickly, just to show you the cap here. Like I say, we've gone behind the airbag, so it sort of goes down, round the back of the airbag and then down. Okay, it's not in front of the airbag, it is behind it. So do your best to get that tucked up behind it, and then obviously follow through, getting your cable tucked up behind there. You may well need, if it's tight like this vehicle is, your plastic tool to sort of just, there we go, carefully tuck it behind, out of the way. So it's now run across the roof lining behind the airbag, well, down and behind the airbag, and then down the side pillar. There's our earthing connection, the black wire coming down here, tucked behind the trim. We've put it over the stub, 13mm self-locking nut on top of a washer on top of the actual earth ring itself. This is an M8 thread, and then all we're going to literally do is just tighten that up. And that'd be a really solid, nice earthing point for the camera cable. There we go. Job done. So we've doubled it up. I mean, you can remove the original nut and put a big washer behind it. Your dashboard won't move, it's holding a hell of a lot more than that nut. But it's up to you how you do it. That's my preference of doing it. Seems to work well. There's your earth cable. Now we're just down to tidying up this section and doing the power cable. We've tucked all of our excess cable after binding it all up back here, down out of the way. Here's your power cable that comes from the actual camera area, as it were, down the pillar and out. And we've bullet connected it to our blue power cable that I used to run down the vehicle. If you remember, it came out here, went up here, and we've had it come out here. So this is the one to the rear, this is the one to up top near the mirror of the car. Bullet connected. I'm going to electrical tape that or shrink wrap it, just for good measure. When you've done that, you can tuck that behind, out of the way, put your end cap back on, so leave your rubber seal off, end cap slides in, clicks on, and then you push your rubber seal on afterwards. Back at the rear of the car again, looking into the boot area, back to our blue power cable that I used here. Like I say, I don't know why red wasn't showing up too well, a bit weird, but there we go. We're going to put a male spade connector on the end of that so that it will plug into our female fuse spur connector just here. And on to the slightly technical part. For this, you're either going to need a multimeter or one of those like test probe screwdrivers. So basically a screwdriver where you shove it on something and it illuminates if it's live or not. Either one of them will do fine. Test probe screwdrivers, very, very cheap. So ideal for this type of thing, because all fuses in these things have got shiny bits on the top, so you can actually touch your probe onto the top of the fuse to test what's live and what isn't. Now then, on your actual fuse that you're going to use, you need an accessory position fuse. In other words, one for a non-critical system. Nothing for airbags, ECU, ABS, anything like that. Must be an accessory one. Something like heater, 12-volt socket, radio, that type of thing, an accessory fuse, okay? Now you are going to need to test your fuse box like I'm going to show you here. Fuse box specifications can differ depending on country of origin for the vehicle, where it's sold to, specification of the vehicle, etc. So they can be very different from each other, okay? I've worked on many cars over the years and seen many variations on fuse boxes, so please do test your fuse boxes. First thing to do, ignition off, so it's completely off. You'll notice I'm reading 0 volts, okay? Cars run on 12 volt, so we're expecting somewhere around that number. As an example, if we were to test a live fuse on these, normally the bigger ones here are live all the time, that would be registering sort of 11.5, 12.5 volts, that type of thing. So what we're going to do, I've done a lot of this specification car, so sort of know where to go on these. End fuse row here, if we go to this 5 amp, oops, sorry, near dropped the camera there. Sorry about the lighting conditions as well, it's a really foul day and I'm struggling to get the camera to focus well. But if you touch the probe on the metal part of the fuse there, with the ignition off, we are reading 0 voltage. This is good. If we turn the ignition on, this fuse reads 12 volts. Okay, now obviously to do that with my multimeter I need to earth out my test probe, which means using both hands, and which means I can't hold the camera. But trust me, this fuse on this car, accessory fuse, is 12 volts ignition switched, so it goes on and off with the ignition. Now with the ignition off, go ahead and remove the fuse. To remove the fuse, you've got the little plastic tool here that you can pull it out with. They're a bit crappy, I don't like them. I tend to drop them and lose them down the trim of the vehicle forever and a day. So seeing as this is not my car, just remove the fuse like so, take it out, pop that to one side, and then we're going to get our fuse spur, move all the wires out of the way, and pop the fuse we've taken out into the gap next to it to obviously run the original circuit, which I'm going to have to do some video editing magic because I'm not going to be able to do this one-handed. There we go, original fuse in, 2 or 3 amp fuse there to run your camera, not a problem. You can now drop this back down to the fuse box and pop it in. That went in really easy. Normally a bit tougher than that. I didn't think it had gone in. That's in. There we go. Cable, obviously, move the multimeter out of the way. You're going to tidy this up. I'm going to cable tie it underneath so it's nice and tidy, but basically it's going to tuck down and out of the way like so, and you'll be able to shut your flap. Some cars aren't fitted with the flap, so don't worry if yours hasn't got it. That's quite normal. At this point, we're going to unwrap the camera and give it a quick test. So here we have our mirror cam. These are a bit different. Your camera may well be one of those that sticks on the windscreen with a sucker or an adhesive pad. It's exactly the same principle for one of these. Obviously one of these is a benefit in that you haven't got something stuck on the window, so obviously for a crime angle, you know, no one's going to break in and steal it. On a downside though to one of these, if you've got an auto dimming rear view mirror like this BMW has, you lose that ability. Now they come with suction cups and hooks, so basically it sticks on your mirror and then hooks over. But like I say, it's exactly the same principle wiring wise for the cameras that just go on the window with a sucker. And there we go. There is our camera mounted nicely on the mirror. I will finish tucking the cable up here, but we'll just give it a quick test. Switch the ignition on, and there we go. Camera comes on. Switch the ignition off. We've got battery backup, so once they've charged, it'll last a couple of hours. And that's going back off. That's on battery backup now, off. Guys, that's how you fit a dash cam to a 2018 BMW 3 Series. Well, this is a GT Coupe, but it's the same sort of thing for the saloons and the Tourings. Any questions? Let me in the comments below. I'll do my best to answer you as quickly as possible, although I do get a ton of questions every day. So thanks for watching, and goodbye for now.